I didn't start winning when I found the perfect strategy. I started winning when I learned how to lose without actually falling apart. Now, most traders, they chase the win rates, the certificates, the signals, the hype. But the real shift happens when you stop treating losses as some sort of proof that you're a failure. And you need to start treating them as data. When you no longer panic when you're in the red, when you no longer tie your identity to your P&L and no longer need every single trade to work, then the market, it loses control over you, okay? Now in this video, I'll show you how mastering losing emotionally, mentally, and practically is the only reason I was able to win consistently, and my clients have been able to win consistently. Now, by the way, if we haven't met before, my name is Rodrigo Antonio. I'm a performance psychology coach for traders. And over the last decade, I've helped hundreds of traders secure funded accounts and millions in payouts. And we've done this by fixing what happens in here. So if you've ever felt that you're the problem, not the strategy, you're exactly in the right place. Today, I'm going to break down how I actually mastered losing and how you can do the same. So you can finally trade without falling apart every single time you're in the red. Most traders don't realize it, but their entire psychology is built on this one sentence right here. If I'm a good trader, I mostly win. Now, the trading industry sells you this idea over and over again. You know, you see the payouts, you see the certificates, you see the equity curves, the lifestyle, you only see wins. And you see the thumbnails on YouTube screaming 90% accuracy. And what happens is slowly and slowly, this belief, it gets wired into your head. And this is a problem. You know, this belief of if I'm not mostly winning, then I must not be good. I'm going to leave this exact sentence on the board for just a minute. And by the end of this section, we're going to come back because we need to rewrite this together. All right. Because this one belief, it is quietly destroying your trading. And it's worse than a bad strategy. Now, look, here's the problem with the lie of constantly winning. So the moment that you believe good traders, they hardly lose, every loss becomes proof that you're just not good enough. And it's no longer just -1R. It is shame. It's disappointment. It's, see, I knew I wasn't cut out for this. And when you feel that shame, what happens is you stop thinking clearly. You just react and you start avoiding trades that you should be taking because you're just scared of another loss. Or you start forcing trades that you shouldn't take because you're desperate to prove that you can win. Now, you're not trading your system anymore. You're trading your insecurity. And the hard truth is this. Even with a great system, you're going to lose often. And consistently profitable traders, they don't escape losing. They escape the fantasy that you shouldn't lose because you will. We do. This is part of the game. And the moment that you let go of that fantasy, you're going to notice that the pressure drops and suddenly your brain has enough space to actually follow the plan. Does that make sense? So if this is the lie, then we need to rewrite this together, okay? Because when I did this, it actually set me free. Now, professional traders, they don't aim to mostly win. They aim to lose well, small, controlled, and without actually falling apart. Now, let me show you how they actually think about wins and losses. Now, for a professional, both wins and losses feed into data, and that data feeds into process, okay? That's the shift. Now, the goal isn't to avoid losing. The goal is to become the kind of trader who loses well, okay? It's about losing well. It's about using that information to consistently execute your plan. And once you get this, then every stop out, every red trade, it stops being this verdict about you, about your identity. And it's just another line on your journal. And that's the foundation for mastering losses, okay? And that's even before we start talking about the brain, your emotions, or revenge trading. Okay, let's talk about why this is so hard on a biological level. And it's because your brain was not built for trading. It's built for survival. So when you see a loss on the screen, your nervous system, it doesn't see -1R as planned. It actually, it reacts and it reads more like danger. This is a threat. This is an emergency. Something is wrong. And then your heart rate goes up, your breathing changes, your muscles tighten. That's your fight or flight or even freeze response. It's kicking in that moment. Now, in the wild, that reaction, it makes sense. You know, if you're feeling threatened, if your life is at stake, then you need to react quickly, right? Not just sit there calmly trying to calculate the probabilities. Because when you're trading, that same wiring, it completely sabotages everything. Now think about what happens after taking a loss or a stop out. You know, your stop gets hit, price moves against you faster than you expected. Maybe there's this sudden news candle, and in a split second, your brain just goes, we're unsafe. Do something right now. So you do. You close the next trade too early because you're scared of that pain again. Or you move your stop to break even the moment that price moves a little bit in your favor just to lock it in. You jump into a new trade without a real signal because you just can't stand the discomfort of being in the red. And none of that is your strategy. That's your survival system hijacking your execution. And here's what most traders never get told, that you can't force your nervous system to be calm. You have to train it. It's like a muscle. So that means slowing down after a loss, breathing intentionally for 60 to 90 seconds, you know, writing down what actually happened instead of reacting to the story in your head. Or what we developed with PTP, you can actually talk to the AI coaches and they respond immediately 24/7. If you're interested in the PTP app, there's more information in the description below. So gradually, when you're doing these things, you're teaching your body that we're safe. A loss is data. It's not death. And once you start working with your biology instead of against it, then losses, they don't feel like emergencies anymore. And losses just start feeling like they're part of the process. And that's when your decision making finally has a chance to match the quality that you get when you're backtesting or when you're trading demo. Now, for a lot of traders, everything changed after one moment. And it was usually after that big loss. Maybe you remember yours. You know, that one trade where you broke your rules, you moved your stop, you added size, or you ended up holding and hoping, and then the market punishes you hard. And maybe it wiped a whole month of gains. Maybe it wiped the entire account. And from that day, something subtle changed inside of you. You still trade and you still say that you trust your system, but now there's this hidden hesitation. And every time a setup appears, your mind just flashes back. Oh, remember what happened last time? And then you start second guessing your entries that you used to just take without any hesitation, and you just hesitate, or you delay, you wait for one more candle for extra confirmation. And by the time that you click, the edge is gone. Now, that big loss isn't just a number. It becomes a reference point for your brain, and it uses it to protect you. It says that, oh, we're not doing that again. And so your brain overreacts, and it happens in a split second. So instead of protecting your capital, it starts protecting you from that feeling of pain again. And in doing so, quietly kills your ability to execute the perfect good system that you have. If that resonates, I want you to know that there's actually nothing wrong with you. You're not weak, you're just human. And you had a traumatic event in the markets, and your brain just created this reflex around it. And the work that needs to be done now is to retrain that reflex. Not to pretend that it never happened. On paper, your system makes sense. You've backtested it, you forward tested, maybe even journaled months or years of data. and you know your win rate, your R multiple, your average R, your drawdown, and logically you trust it. But the moment that you're live and it's funded or there's real money on the line, something strange happens. The exact same chart suddenly just looks different. Like you see a clean setup and your mind, it starts playing these stories like, oh, the last time I took this, oh, that candle looks a bit weaker this time. Maybe I should wait for one more rejection just to be safe. So fear adds extra conditions that your system never asked for. So what happens? You skip the trade. And of course, that's the one that runs beautifully to the target without you. And other times you do take the trade. But the second that price pulls back, your brain starts to scream a little. Yeah. Oh, it's happening again. Oh, and then you ignore your stop, you ignore the target, you ignore the plan. And you end up closing early to avoid the possibility of a full loss. And then you sit there watching price respect your level, and then it hits the target that you planned and you're not in it. So do you notice what changed? The chart didn't change, your rules didn't change, your data and your stats didn't change. The only thing that changed was the story that fear told you in real time. Now, fear makes you throw away evidence and obey emotion. It convinces you that this one trade is different, that your rules somehow don't apply right now. But if you zoom out and you look at your journal, you're always going to see the same behaviors repeating themselves. Skipping valid setups, taking partials too early, moving your stops impulsively, and meddling with the trade that you should have just left it alone. Now, mastering losing means learning to distrust that fear, that fearful voice, more than you distrust your data. So it means that you need to start telling a different story. You need to start saying, I see you, I hear you, but I've already decided how I trade this pattern. That's how you close the gap between the strategy that you have on paper and the one that you actually execute live. This sentence has blown more accounts than any bad strategy. Now, most traders don't plan to revenge trade. They don't sit down in the morning and say, yeah, today I'm going to overtrade and ruin my month. It usually starts with something completely normal. Like you took a trade that fits your plan, you follow your rules, you do what you're supposed to do, and it still loses. Maybe it was a new spike, maybe it was just one of those trades that doesn't move, it doesn't get going. Now, on paper, it's just a standard 1R loss, but emotionally, it lands very different. Inside, the story starts with, this wasn't supposed to happen. I did everything right. I can't end the day like this. And that's when the shift happens. You're no longer trading and executing your edge. You're trading to fix how you feel. And you want to erase the red. You want to get back to break even. You want to prove that you're not an idiot. And that's where this sentence kicks in. Oh, I have to finish in profit. Or, I have to end in profit today. And the moment that you think that, your objective changes. You're not asking, is this a valid setup? What you're actually asking is, can this get my money back fast? So what happens is that you start forcing trades that are almost valid, and you chase price after it's already moved. You end up sizing up because, you say this one has to work. And then you stop waiting for your confirmations because patience just feels too painful at this point. And your nervous system is just in this fight mode. You're not looking at probabilities anymore. You're just trying to get even. And the market loves that version of you. Prop firms love that version of you, because in that state, you're trading more and you're taking lower quality setups. You're risking more per trade. You're ignoring the exact rules that were actually built to protect you. And within a few minutes, couple of hours, you can destroy weeks, months of disciplined work. And It's not because you don't know what to do, but it's because you refuse to feel that one loss, what it's meant to be. And revenge trading, it feels powerful in the moment, but it's actually just pure weakness. It's you handing the wheel to your emotions and just locking your plan in a box. Now, the solution isn't to try harder, not to revenge trade in the heat of the moment, but the solution isn't to try harder. It's not to revenge trade in that moment. And by the time that you're triggered, it's already too late. So you need to you need pre-decided rules that protect you from your worst self. Like, after one loss, I must pause for at least 5 to 10 minutes. Reset, no charts, no entries. Just go to my living room, breathe, and just write down what happened. After 2 losses back to back in a session, I'm done for the day. And even if the next setup is perfect, I don't touch it. See, these are protocols and these are rules. They're not there because you're weak. They're there because you respect how dangerous you become when you feel hurt and when you're emotional. So this is an internal battle that needs to be won. And this is what this is what consistently profitable traders do. They don't just manage market risk, they manage self-risk. So let's look at what's actually happening here. You take a loss and then you don't accept it. It turns into anger. And that anger then drives over trading. You start clicking anything that moves. And within a few hours, you're just staring at some real damage in your account. And it's not just that, it's your confidence. Now, professionals and consistently profitable traders, they still take the same loss, but the difference is what happens next. You know, they don't go, oh, I need to finish in profit. No, they trigger a pause rule. They step back, they breathe, they journal what's happened. Yeah. From there, they go back to process. Yeah. And their plan, their risk rules, their statistics, all of that over time, that's what creates real progress. Okay. Now, it's the same loss. Think about it. It's 2 different chains of decisions. And when it comes to revenge trading or revenge traders, they react to the pain. Now, professional traders, they just respond to the loss. Do you see that shift? And then the more that you choose this right hand path in real time, the less power that revenge trading has over you. Another shift for me was realizing that I've been trading for my ego, not for my process. So be honest with yourself here. How much of your trading is actually really about making consistent returns? And how much of it is actually being right about posting your screenshots, your payout certificates, showing people that, oh yeah, I caught the move. Look how much money I'm making. Proving to yourself that you're not average. When you actually trade from ego, every win is a hit on that validation and every loss is an attack on your identity. So you end up avoiding taking small necessary losses because when you trade from ego, every win is a hit on that validation and every loss is an attack on your identity. So you avoid taking small necessary losses because they feel like personal failure. You know, you hold on to bad trades because you don't want to admit that you were wrong, or you add to losers trying to, you know, save the idea of instead of just accepting that the original trade was just invalid. Ego trading sounds like, oh, I can't believe I missed that move. Oh, I should have seen that coming. Oh, I can't let this one get stopped out. Now, process trading sounds more like, did I follow my rules? Did I size correctly? Did I execute my plan according to the checklist, according to the edge? Because the market doesn't care about your self-image. It doesn't pay you for being clever. It pays you for being consistent. And the traders who last are the ones who are willing to look a bit stupid on one trade. Yeah. So they can actually look smarter over 1,000 trades. So here's the question to sit with. Yeah. If no one saw your results, your charts, your payouts, would you trade the same way? If the answer is no, well, that's ego in the mix. And until you clean that up, you're going to keep forcing trades that just don't belong in your journal. They don't belong there. And you're going to end up feeding the story of who you really are. Every consistently profitable trader I know became a professional loser first. Now, when most traders hear professional loser, they instantly think it's an insult. But in trading, it's actually one of the highest compliments that you can actually get. And a professional trader is, by definition, a professional at losing well. They expect losses. They actually plan for them. They budget for them. They don't act surprised when they show up. For them, a loss is like rent for a business, or, topping up fuel for your car. It's an unavoidable cost of operation. Now, compare that with how most retail traders approach it. They still secretly believe that they're good enough, that they should barely ever lose. So every time that the market takes their stop, 1R, it doesn't just hit their account, it hits their identity. So that's when you get all the drama. Like, oh, why does this happen to me? I can't believe I missed that move. Maybe I should change my strategy again. Now, the professional doesn't do any of that. They know before they click exactly how much that they're willing to lose if the trade goes wrong. They've accepted that trade before they even enter. So when the stop is hit, there's nothing to negotiate. There's no moving stop. There's no adding to the loser. There's no desperate hedge. Just, okay, that one didn't work. What's next? Now, being a professional loser doesn't mean being careless. It just means that your losses are small, meaning that the risk is controlled. They're planned, meaning the stop was set and honored, and emotionally clean. You feel the sting, but you don't build this whole story around it. And look, here's the paradox. The traders who are willing to lose cleanly over and over again are the ones who unlock the long-term winners that other people, they don't even get to that point. So ask yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, how professional are you at losing? Not just winning, because the brutal truth is that if you can't lose well, the market will never let you keep your wins consistently. So when I say a professional loser, this is what I mean. A pro expects a loss, a loss, a loss. Yeah. They're not happy about them, but they're not shocked by it either. They've kept each one small, each one planned, and each one emotionally clean. They've detached from it, because all of those losses, they feed into consistency. Every controlled loss is another rep for your discipline, another data point for your stats, another reminder that you can follow your plan even when it hurts. And amateurs, they treat each loss like a personal insult. And the professional treats each loss like it's a paid training session. And over time, this is why those traders who are willing to be professional losers are the ones who actually get to keep the profits over years. They're consistent. They're able to compound. And this is what separates them. So if you master this, you won't need to fear losing anymore. You'll know it's literally the path that leads you to consistency. Now, we need to address something deeper. You're not your P&L. And most traders say that they know this intellectually, but emotionally, they live the exact opposite. On a green day, you're walking a little bit taller, you feel more confident, you're a lot nicer to be around, you're proud of yourself. But on a red day, you feel flat, ashamed, grumpy. Maybe you even question your worth. And over time, your identity gets welded into your P&L, your equity curve. And that's dangerous, because it means that every trade becomes a test of who you are. Suddenly, it's not just, oh, did this setup work? It's, am I good enough? Have I still got it in me? Am I cut out for this? And when that's the question on the line, of course, you're going to feel pressure. Of course, that you can't think clearly. Of course, you're going to avoid taking the next valid setup after a loss. It's because you're trying to protect your ego, not actually run your system. Now, separating your self-worth from your P&L, it is a non-negotiable, especially if you want to survive in this game. And you're human. Now, you are a human being who trades, not a trader whose value is measured on monthly returns. Now, practically, that means that you start measuring success differently. So instead of asking, did I make money today? You should be asking, did I follow my process today? Did I honor my risk? Did I journal honestly? And you can have a red day and still give yourself 10 out of 10 for execution, for process. You can have a green day and still be honest that you got lucky and broke your rules. So when you shift from I must win to I must follow my process, you take so much weight off each individual trade. And ironically, that's exactly what allows your performance to improve. You have a calm nervous system. You end up with a clear mind, consistent actions. That's the real edge. Not this magic win rate or always has to win. Unfortunately, most traders live as if this equation is true, and it's killing their progress. Now, let's finish with the most important mindset shift of all, that losing is inevitable. Suffering is optional. A loss is literally baked into the system. It's what we do as traders. You can have the best strategy that you've ever tested, the perfect risk management, decades of experience. You will still have losing days. You will still have losing weeks, losing months. You may, even have losing years. There is no version of trading where you graduate out of ever taking losses. Now, if you try to build one, you're going to end up over optimizing every tiny detail, over risking when a system, over risking when a trade looks perfect, or you're jumping from strategy to strategy the moment that you hit this regular drawdown. And most of the suffering that traders experience doesn't come from the loss itself. It comes from the beliefs that's wrapped around the loss. You end up having thoughts like, oh, this shouldn't be happening anymore. At my level, I should have days like this. Everyone else is making it look so easy and they're half my age. You see, the loss is just a number on the screen, but the suffering is the story that you put on top of that number. And when you master losing, you change your relationship in those critical moments. And instead of, oh, this loss means I'm failing, it needs to become, this loss is part of how my edge plays out over time. You need to start asking different questions like, was this loss inside of my rules or outside of my rules? Is this just variance, or did I actually break my plan? What is the lesson here, if there is one? Sometimes the lesson is do nothing, stick to the process. And sometimes the lesson is tighten your execution. Stop messing with the trade, honor your stop. Either way, the focus is learning and moving forward, not self-attack. Your real edge isn't in avoiding red days. Your real edge is your ability to stay calm, disciplined, and present when those red days show up. So if you can feel the sting of a loss, accept it, extract what matters, and then just genuinely move on. You have something that most traders, they struggle and never develop, because the traders who last the longest in this game aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who stop punching themselves up, beating themselves up every time that they hit the ground. And this is how most traders are running their psychology, as if every loss automatically equals suffering. But this isn't how it works. Yeah. The loss itself is just an event. Yeah. As you can see, the loss is the same in both cases. What changes is what you do with it. Yeah. It's what you do with this. Now, up here, you add a story. Yeah. Oh, I shouldn't be losing. I'm falling behind. Other traders don't go through this. So those expectations, this is what turns a simple loss into suffering. Yeah. Down here is the same loss, but with acceptance. This is part of the game. This is where you take a lesson. And once you've taken that lesson, you move on. Yeah. So losing is guaranteed in this business. And suffering is a choice that's built from the stories and the expectations that you choose after a loss. And the traders who grow are the traders who survive, and the traders who end up winning over years. They're not the ones who never see red. They're the ones who stop torturing and beating themselves up every time that they do. If this hit you and you're ready to work on your process and psychology, not just chase the next setup, hit subscribe before you go so you don't miss the next video where we are building an unshakable trading mindset. Because once you master losing, winning has no choice but to follow. Thanks for watching.